Hello, everybody. Catchy13 with you at Catchy Gaming. And of the time of this recording, Donkey Kong Bonanza launched yesterday. And I woke up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and hauled my butt to the local retailer to pick up a physical copy of this game. So I actually went physical with this one because I know in terms of Nintendo's first-party titles, they are actually putting them on the card. And there's a whole entire thing with the game key cards. I'm not going to get into that. But this game should have been launched with the Nintendo Switch 2. At least ideally, let's go with that, because I would rather avoid crunch for the poor Japanese developers who probably had to do it, considering Japanese culture in terms of working overtime. We even had a former student who went to the same university that I did. He was a foreign exchange student who went to work for Sony after he graduated. He said he was working up to 70 hours a week, and then he got sick and he dropped it down to 50. I was still like, damn. I mean, I've been there. I've had to work 60-plus hour weeks. So I would empathize with him on that front and hope that no one had to do crunch or had to do minimal amounts of crunch to get this game done. With that out of the way, this game is just so much fun to play. I mean, when Nintendo did their Direct for the Switch 2 and they showed this title, this was the one that I wanted the most out of everything that they showed at that point in time. And so far, I'm not disappointed. There are a few things here and there that are a bit irritating and probably could be done better, but they're very small things that only happen occasionally. And some of them are just more or less personal. I guess the best way would be somewhat pet peeves is the best way to compare them or put it into perspective of how I feel about it. So, they start you right off the bat just smashing things, teaching you how to play the game. Nothing convoluted or special, and those tutorials keep going on. There might be some way to turn them off, but they're constantly there. And I'm hesitant to turn them off at times, mainly because I might run into a new mechanic and not know how to perform said mechanic. So I've kept them on, but I do find it a touch irritating. Just a little bit. And that's mainly due to the point where I've played it for several hours and I've done several of these moves over and over again. I don't need to be told how to do them again at the point that I'm at, and I know how it works for that specific situation. But that's just a minor thing. It only happens every now and then at the point I'm at, but it happens a lot at the beginning of the game. But otherwise, for the most part, the smashing is just absolutely satisfying. Just absolutely punching your way through whatever material is before you is just one of the best feelings that I get from this game. But when you do smash into some objects, it can lead to one small issue that only occasionally happens with the camera. For the most part, the camera's excellent. It keeps track of where you are, but sometimes, every once in a while, it will not keep track of Donkey Kong, not even a silhouette, and you have no idea where he is. And sometimes, you'll control Donkey Kong in a way you don't want to. But these incidents are very, very rare. I would expect nothing less from the same people who made Super Mario Odyssey. So back to some gameplay. They have more than just smashing. You can also pick up chunks of material and throw it, and they programmed several different types of material. Like, I think it's supposed to be clay, which will stick to targets instead of causing damage to them. There are other things similar, like dirt or sand, that you can actually pile up and cause to stick to each other so you can build up platforms. So it's not entirely always just smashing things, although that is a lot of the game. An example of that right here is where I was trying to get to a higher spot, although I could have done that an easier way with a different ability, but oh well. You can clump dirt together because it sticks together. And there's a little bit of subtlety to the gameplay other than just smashing everything. And even when you do smash, there's maybe a tiny little bit of finesse there as well. You can combine different moves, like you can do an up smash attack or a down smash attack. You don't just have to just spam the Y button constantly to smash everything. It's there. You don't actually really need to know that. I mean, there might be some situation that I haven't come across where, yes, that will be necessary in the future to do something better or to get through it. But as of right now, I'm only at level 600. And I haven't really needed to do much in terms of subtly switching between the up and down smashes to get through a scenario. But it's there. I've done it just messing around, smashing terrain and stuff like that. In terms of the game's overall appearance, it's actually a very good looking game. And they were originally planning to put it on Switch 1, but due to computational lacking of the Switch 1, they switched over to the Switch 2, adding more foliage and stuff like that as well. And I'm actually really loving Donkey Kong's new look, inspired by the original Donkey Kong on the arcade. They made him bigger and beefier, and seems like he'd be more of a smashing type than what he was previously in, let's say, Donkey Kong Country. Are there issues with its graphical presentation? Sure. I picked up a chunk of Earth where there's a big, huge gap missing in between it, but that's one of the few things I've ever noticed, and I can't even find the clip of where I recorded that, mainly because I have hours of it. But I've only encountered that maybe once or twice. Now, it does have two game modes. One is assistant mode and one's normal. I'm playing on normal, but it still feels a touch hand-holdy, just a touch. But it still allows you to just veer off wherever you want to go and explore, smash whatever it allows you to smash. There are limits to what you can and cannot smash in this game. Sometimes I feel a little bad about it because the dwellers of the underground, I just absolutely go ape on. Yeah, you see what I did there. And I destroy the terrain around the area where their villages are located. In this case, it's a hotel built by ostriches. And I feel a little bad destroying their stuff. I mean, yes, they're non-existent NPCs, so I really shouldn't feel bad, but for some odd reason, it feels just a little messed up to do that. And it can happen on accident just as easily as you doing it on purpose. Just jumping off of an object and landing on top of something can cause damage to the terrain. And speaking of one thing I'm actually pretty happy they didn't have is a stamina bar. I'm looking at you, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Donkey Kong can sprint for really long times, and he can also climb indefinitely. Some surfaces he can't, but others he can without worrying about falling because he's too tired, which is absolutely a nice thing to experience. Now, there's one thing that sort of does irritate me a little bit, and that's the lack of voice acting. I mean, when I say that, Pauline does have voice acting, but otherwise everybody just sort of makes noises. And in Nintendo fashion, I'm pretty sure it's somebody speaking lines and then they reverse them or do a whole bunch of other things to them to alter it. So it sort of sounds like speech, but it isn't quite. I get why they do this. It makes things cheaper for them so they don't have to record lines in thousands of different languages. That's an exaggeration. Don't get me wrong on that part. So it helps drive costs down for this game. And I get that. But I would just want actual voice acting. I won't say for once because they did it for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. From their speaking roles. I mean, I already mentioned Pauline, but she's like the exception to a lot of Nintendo games. and in this game in general. There's one thing I like to point out, and that's the female monkey assistant there. She sounds like Miss Gravely from Luigi's Mansion 3. I mean, I haven't looked up the credits, but it wouldn't surprise me if she was. Now, the weakest link for me is actually Pauline. She's supposed to be the character I empathize with, and I don't. And that's probably because I find her annoying because she's a child. I mean, she's almost a Kenny. Almost, not quite. And for those who don't know what a Kenny is, I feel like I have to explain this every time. In the old monster movies, when they would have child actors that the monster would come and protect, particularly in Japanese movies, I should say, those are referred to as Kennys, which comes from a Gamera movie where the main character was a child named Kenny. She's almost there. She isn't quite, but she can get a little annoying when she just has her little constant comments that serve no purpose. But she does lead to one of the better aspects of the gameplay, and that's the Banaza transformations. This is the first one, and it's the one I like out of the two that I have so far, because it allows you to smash things even better. They don't just ignore the past. They keep a lot from the side-scrolling Donkey Kongs as well as some things from Donkey Kong 64. I mean, you have the balloons, which were lives in the side-scroller Donkey Kongs, but now they save you when you fall off ledges, which they did have that in at least Donkey Kong Returns. I haven't played Freeze in a really long time. And they have the gold bananas, which distinctly, I'm pretty sure it came from Donkey Kong 64. There is a bit of a collectathon aspect to this, but they actually have some practical use other than just collecting, because you can level up your abilities, like how much punching power you have, how many hearts, and stuff like that. Heck, it even goes gold banana. A banana! Oh, banana! So the game is respectful of its roots as well. But with that, if you have a Switch 2, I would get this game. This game is so much fun. And I would base it off of your own experience by playing it, but I can't encourage you enough to try this game. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.